Have you ever seen one of those tier-based lists for Smash Brothers characters? If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's basically this. Someone ranks all the Smash Brothers characters and they put them on tiers and they grade them. You know, your garbage characters are at the bottom and the best of the best characters are at the top. The S tier, the God tier. Depending on who made it, they will call it maybe a little different. And then you got everything in between, A, B, C, D, whatever. For the most part, you'll hear a lot of people complain about those S tier characters and say they need to be nerfed because they're too powerful. Sakurai recently chimed in on this and he said, yeah, no. Those tier lists, garbage. That's not a direct quote, but I'm paraphrasing the dude. He basically said that all those lists are just from people who are just making stuff up based upon their personal preferences, and they don't have anything to really judge it by. But he actually does some hard facts in the latest issue of Famitsu that was recently translated. Sakurai goes into numbers, so move over, kids, and let's see what Sakurai says about the Smash Brothers community. And at one point, he basically says people who are losing to King K Rool are bunch of crybabies. Oh man, I love Sakurai. Let's talk about this interview that Sakurai recently gave Famitsu. It takes place between a 1 week period. Let's see, what was that week? I don't have it memorized, believe it or not. Okay, so from December 30th, 2018 to January 5th, 2019, this is the time frame in which he is going to talk to us about. He has even more numbers, but he was only allowed to really talk about this 1 week period. And in this 1 week period, it's very revealing. He goes on to say that the characters that won the least amount, so basically if we were to put them in tiers, your bottom tier characters, they still managed to win 40% of the time. So the worst of the worst characters managed to win 40% of the time. Now, what about your top characters, your S characters? He said top characters who won the most, well, they won 60% of the time. So that means out of 10 matches, your best of the best, let's say the characters that I've heard that need to be nerfed, and if you don't know what nerfed means, it's basically a nerf bullet. You need to take these characters and downgrade them so they're not so tough, just like a nerf bullet isn't as tough as a real bullet. And the characters that I've heard the most that need to be nerfed are, I believe, Cloud, King K Rool, and Splatoon kids. I could be wrong. I think Cloud needed to be nerfed from the Wii U. I'm not sure if he needed to be nerfed from the Switch. But anyways, let's just pretend those are your three. King K Rool for sure is the one that is most talked about. He will actually single out King K Rool later in the interview. But let's talk Splatoon kid, King K Rool, and Cloud. For the sake of this analogy, those are your three top characters. And we'll say at the bottom is going to be, let's say, Rob the Robot. I'm looking at my amiibos right here. Rob the Robot, Luigi, and Olimar. So for this analogy, we are saying that these three characters, King K Rool, Cloud, and Splatoon Girl, they are winning 6 out of 10 of their matches. But the bottom tier characters, Olimar, he is still winning 4 out of 10 of his matches. And that's not a lot when you consider the best of the best is only winning 2 more matches than the worst of the worst. That indicates that there really isn't a problem, because the best of the best should really be winning 8 or 9 of the 10 matches they play, or at the very least, the worst of the worst should be at like 1 or 2, and the best of the best should be like 5 or 6 matches ahead of the worst of the worst. So that shows right there that for the most part, it's pretty even. Now, when you go to the elite status, because if you are good enough, you can become an elite and only fight elite people. I am not ever going to be elite. As much as I would love to be one, I am just not that good. But when he said you go into the elite arena, the percentage gets even smaller. What do you say? The elite percentage is this: 43.7% to 56.8%. So the percentage even gets closer when you're talking about the players who aren't really complaining about characters and are just training more. Then the percentage of win-loss between characters gets even smaller. So that is very telling right there, because everyone's like, well, King K Rool, his down B, I think it's too powerful or whatever, or Splatoon Girl when she runs over you with the roller and then up B's you, it's just too powerful, needs to be nerfed. Well, let's talk King K Rool, because that's the one that actually I hear the most of, and apparently Sakurai heard the most of it as well, and this is what he says about that. I'm quoting him now. The consensus seemed to be that King K Rool was a strong character. That ended up not being the case. Overall, his victory rate was 51.2%, and in Elite Smash, it was 48.9%. So basically, King K Rool, this character that everybody is saying is super overpowered, well, he is only at a win rate of 50-50. Half the time he wins, half the time he loses. You can't say that someone is overpowered when they are literally only winning 50% of their matches. If he was overpowered, he should be winning at the very least 80% of his matches. And Sakurai then goes on to say that when people face him and they lose, they probably just say, well, that's not fair. And I love that. And let me get exactly what he says. General consensus seems to be that King K Rool is strong, but I imagine that there are also people that think no fair when they lose to him. Looking at our records, though, I really don't see any need to adjust him. So King K Rool fans, don't worry, he's pretty much safe. Although I will say that Sakurai did then go on to say that he's going to appease the crybabies, and I wasn't a big fan of that, because he said this: though I think there'll still be people that'll continue to be stressed out about fighting him if I don't mess with him any. So I think I'll wait to hear what the adjustment team has to say. He's going to talk to his other people and say, hey guys, what do you think? Should I not? He doesn't feel he needs to, but because he's such a nice guy, he is willing to consider tweaking him just a tiny bit to appease the crybabies. I'm not a big fan of that, actually. I do not like to appease crybabies. But, hey, you know what? It's his game. He wants to make that decision. That's fine on him. But as of right now, he's literally saying, yeah, you lost to King K Rool and you're crying about it, but maybe you just need to get better, because the data shows that King K Rool is a 50-50 character. And 50-50, well, that's not this unstoppable force. No, it shows that he can win or he can lose just like anyone else. Those are hard numbers right there. And from Sakurai himself, who really, I just don't see him trying to lie or cover up. We're talking about a company who just flat out said, you know what, our video game, Metroid 4, it sucks. We've gone back to the drawing board and we're giving it over to an American company. So I don't really see this company making excuses right now. It shows right now that Smash Brothers is a pretty even field. Maybe Ganondorf is a little more overpowered than, say, Pichu or the Ice Climbers, but not so much in a way that if you are playing with this bottom character, you don't have a chance against this higher character. No, you have to be prepared to fight different every single time. In regards to the list that I was talking about earlier, from time to time, you may see a player-created estimation of each character's strengths, but in reality, they differ pretty greatly from our records. There are characters that tend to be given a lower rank in a grade scheme of things, you know, the tiers that I was talking about, but truth be told, they sometimes end up coming close to surpassing even the highest ranked characters. This also can be the case in previous entries in the series. Ultimately, I wonder if it's the people who don't play by the book and come up with countermeasures to what they face that end up being strong and thus end up winning. Basically, he said this: quit relying on somebody's fan-made tier list thinking that you've got a powerful character, and actually come up with your own strategy, whatever character you play, and then go and fight. Don't walk in with this preconceived notion that you have a lesser character and they have a better character. No, instead, come up with strategies that aren't the norm. Find countermeasures to this quote-unquote strong character and then beat them. And he's basically saying it's not the character that is going to win the game, it's the person playing the character and their strategies that's going to win the game. Therefore, that tier list is garbage. Oh man, he put it more eloquently than I can, but I'll tell you what, that's what he was saying. He was saying, quit looking at these lists. They mean nothing. And that's what I think we got out of this interview, that it has nothing to do with the characters. It's just people have to learn how to adapt, because we're coming into an age where video games aren't necessarily just going to hold your hand anymore. And if you think King K Rool is still too overpowered, well, I suggest you don't go online, because I don't think you'll like it when you lose, because it's not that it's not fair. It might be you need to buckle down and play more and get better. So there it is, people. The numbers don't lie. Sakurai has made Sakurai and his team, I know there's a ton of people involved in this, but I generally just name Sakurai. Sakurai and his team created a very well-balanced game based upon these numbers. And I know some people are still going to be like, no way, King K Rool, too overpowered. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Just, next time, I guess you can just play couch co-op against your little brother, because then you will always win. Or, hey, you know what? If he's that overpowered, just beat him. He's so overpowered, you beat him, and you have fun with your 50-50 record still. Guys, it's dangerous to go alone. Please share this video, this channel with a friend, and let me know what you think about the numbers that Sakurai presented to us. Have a great day.